Greetings, this is Pastor Keith from Trinity Chapel, Charlotte. I want to welcome you to the first question in our Catechism series, Walking Through Westminster. The Shorter Catechism begins appropriately with one of life's most important questions. Why are we here? The older way of asking it that the Catechism uses, what is the chief end of man? And the answer given is both simple and all-encompassing. Man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. The Westminster Divines are using the word end here in the sense of goal or purpose, the same way that we still use that word when we say the ends justify the means. What we are saying in that phrase is that the purpose or the goal that we're trying to accomplish is so worthwhile that it justifies anything we need to do to make it happen. So when the Catechism asks what man's chief end is, it is asking what our purpose is. The other thing that we need to notice is that they ask what man's chief purpose is. We may have various individual, unique purposes in life, different vocations or callings, but the Catechism is asking what is the common purpose that binds all of us together? What is the supreme goal that each one of us is called to pursue, regardless of our unique circumstances? And the answer that they give is twofold. One, our purpose is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. To glorify God means that we give God honor and praise and worship. When we glorify something, it carries the idea of boasting. We're boasting in it. That's why the Bible tells us that if we want to boast in the Lord. We exist as God's image bearers to make God look good, to boast in Him. Now, of course, God already has all glory and honor, so you might be asking, Pastor Keith, what are we possibly adding to Him? Well, think with me, for example, of a king. Typically, kings want to have very glorious crowns. They invest in these crowns with jewels and gold and lots of stuff going on. It's very glorious. It's meant to be beautiful. The king's crown needs to be glorious, not because it glorifies him, but because of the glory he already has as the king. The king's crown is glorious not to give him glory, but because he has glory. And so if that's the case with a sinful, creaturely king, how much more is it the case with the God of the universe? Our purpose is to glorify Him not because He lacks glory and He needs us to give it to Him, but because He's already glorious and worth glorifying. In a sense, you and I, as God's image bearers, are made to be the glorious crown that sits on top of the head of an already infinitely glorious God. We're meant to glorify God, and the second part of the answer goes even deeper. We're also meant to enjoy God. And I think, personally, this is where so many of us as Christians, myself included, we just don't get it, and we fall flat. We're called to glorify God by obeying Him and worshiping Him and loving Him, but we're also meant to enjoy Him the whole time that we're doing it. Our supreme purpose is to give God glory and to find our ultimate pleasure in Him, so that we can say, like the psalmist did in Psalm 73, when he's talking about God, he says, "Whom have I in heaven but you? There is no one on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." It's not enough simply for us to do the right things or to go through the right motions, to glorify God with our mouths or with our actions, if we're not enjoying Him in it. Both parts are included as our supreme purpose in life. A husband who says all the right things to his wife and does all the right things for his wife, but doesn't actually enjoy her, is not a good husband. And on the flip side, a wife who says all the right things and does all the right things for her husband, but takes no pleasure in his company, is not a good wife. For some Christians, it seems like following Christ is more like purgatory than a pleasure. You go to church on Sunday, you sit in the pew, you sing the right songs, you sing loudly, you listen to the preaching, but if you find no joy in it, then God is not truly glorified. It has to be both. Those two things have to go together. It's often when kids are young that parents will tell their kids to do something, and parents are satisfied as long as the kid does the right thing, right? He has to say sorry to his brother, you tell him to apologize, and he says the words, "I'm sorry," and we're satisfied as parents. But God demands that we not only do the right things, but that we do them for the right reasons. And the supreme reason is that we love God and we find our ultimate pleasure in Him. Now, as we'll see going through the Catechism, that supreme purpose for us, because of our sin, has ultimately become impossible for us to do. But God still requires it of us, and He's right to still require it of us. Regardless of your life circumstances, in every way and at all times, God created you to glorify Him and to find ultimate pleasure in Him, to enjoy Him forever. Now, how we can do that is a question that we will address next week with question 2 from the Catechism as we continue walking through Westminster. Until then, may God bless you all with His power to glorify Him and to enjoy Him.